I'm sorry, fellas. I'm trying to pretty damn loud here where I'm at. Would that not be the standard, the clear standard 40 CFR 761?
That's the standard. With the rule, it says rule. Huh. CFR 761.
Wayne?
The NIOSH ones are less.
Number 3 got 2 different answers.
Yeah, we got the
Yeah.
OSHA. I need the NIOSH now.
NIOSH is 0.001.
They asked you if you agree or disagree.
It's a different,
We haven't got to that one yet.
Yeah, there's like 4 pieces to that question.
so the NIOSH one went with parts per million rather than the milligrams per cubic meter though.
It's how much?
They went with 0.001 part per million.
And that's for both.
That was for 42%. Yeah, that's for both of them. But
Yeah.
they don't have it in the same values because
Okay, gotcha.
the one is parts per million and the other one is milligrams per cubic meter. So
Yeah, okay.
like soil or dust, and the other is air. Air.
Wait, I can always change it if you want to.
Yeah, it's
And then what's the last piece of that one? Do you think the OSHA PL adequately protects worker health? I mean, do we even know? Is that even possible to know?
NIOSH is only doing it.
Say no.
No, I don't think so.
Why doesn't it?
Well, because the NIOSH standard can be achieved, right?
Can't be achieved?
Can.
Okay.
I asked him about that if he thought that those values were feasible, and he said, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, it will protect the worker.
NIOSH will.
Okay. NIOSH will.
Yeah. But it's asked the list of OSHA, NIOSH, what PCB do they agree? Somewhat. OSHA does somewhat.
What are you talking about?
And number 3, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, I'll come back and make it better. All right, number 4 is obviously disagree, correct?
Right.
Right.
Since there's no dedicated OSHA regulation that protects those who work with PCBs, as there is with lead and asbestos, list and describe the tools OSHA could use to protect workers who are exposed to PCBs.
Respirators.
Same get up as lead and asbestos, yeah.
Much, except for you want to avoid skin contact all the way around. So you might have
How about a medical surveillance program?
Well, you got to have that to wear a respirator.
Correct. But it also does blood workup because you have to have baseline.
Yeah.
Tyvek.
I'm running out of screen space over here.
A Tyvek soup, all the personal protective equipment you use for lead.
Yeah, let's see. Tyvek, full face. gloves. Obviously, old boots and stuff. I can do this one here.
Class 9. That was,
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of hard for me to keep both of them in the picture. Maybe.
okay, class 9.
I can barely fit them.
Okay, that would be the J for class 9.
All right.
That's the test. That's the
No, I
for the air monitoring.
gotcha. All right. Oh wait, the NIOSH one is.
Yeah, that NIOSH 5503 is it's for personal air monitoring.
Correct. Aye.
No, it's
See
I.
it?
I.
There it is. Yep.
TSA, the I got that right here. Toxic Substance Control Act. They regulate PCBs.
Toxics. There it is. I see. It's A. That's why I had it covered.
Oh, okay.
It's my fault. Trying to keep it all in one. Okay, we don't need A or the first thing. So the rest are all right here. OSHA is definitely H, I'm guessing.
H.
Yeah, the federal. Yep.
40.
Clean.
Is it F?
Got it. Gotta be. Oh, no, wait. There's 2 ppm and less than 50 ppm on the bottom.
Yeah,
The number of states that have fish advisories has got to be.
yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
CCA. CCA is what?
Do the clean
Clean
water.
Air Act. C.
Oh, yeah, definitely. For a fact. CWA.
D.
Other one is,
Yep.
I believe,
Isn't that supposed to be
Wait.
a Clean Air Act?
Clean Water Act.
That's got it, yeah. Well, Clean Air Act, wouldn't that be CAA?
Yeah, I think they just got a typo.
Yeah, typo.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 parts per million. What was that? That was what was in fish or something, wasn't that a 2 parts per million in fish?
Yeah. BF, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. NCR. Gotta
B.
be, yep. EPA required hazardous waste must be followed at this. No, that's at this concentration. That's got to be a number 2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So are we still with E? No. National Research.
What do I? Yeah, I got A, B.
There's J.
I'm missing E. Yeah, national response. National's obviously that.
Okay, US DOT hazardous labeling placard, that's that NIOSH, or no, I'm sorry, class 9.
Is
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
Oh, I got, that's right.
Yeah, we got it. We should be good, I think.
Yeah.
Double check my answers.
Why is it B?
Yeah. Look, I'm on a conference call.
EPA. Oh, wait, less than 50
Yeah, that was the one.
is.
That's B, I believe. Yeah, B.
Okay.
Less
So we're
than-
good.
Yeah, and J is class 9.
Okay.
Yeah. The placards.
We'll
All
just-
right, we should be good though.
We got to change B to J.
Change class 9 to B, then
That's right, it's all there.
Okay, so we're good.
It looks good.
Okay. All right. Discuss the following scenario and describe the protections and process that you can use in your unit to protect your health, PCB exposure. You and your coworkers are removing and replacing hundreds of linear feet of cracked and peeling from library build. In 1970, with the date of the building and understand some of the building materials may contain PCBs. Wait, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
So my internet was breaking. You learn that there have not been any tests to determine the presence of PCBs in the library. When you bring this up to the site foreman, he tells you they don't have to test for PCBs by law and to get started with the work. The next state that you would likely wear PPE and use engineering controls to reduce your exposure risk in case PCBs are present. The foreman says that you cannot use PPE or engineering controls because you would scare the library's administrative staff and community members who frequent the library, and you better stop causing trouble for them. What do you do? Explain your detail in response to the next steps.
I would quit.
Yeah, for real.
You gotta go out. You could just go to your representative, like you said before, and your union rep, and tell them. And if that doesn't work, you gotta get OSHA involved. If he can't fix it for you,
The EPA, I think you could go to the EPA.
yeah. And have them go to OSHA.
I think I'd go to the EPA before OSHA.
No, I just put both in one.
Yeah, I mean, that's good.
Go.
They're both right.
Anything else? Should I say punch the foreman or anything?
I know we haven't really talked about this, but what happens, you could also see if there's any state or local PCB ordinance that may be involved.
Yeah. Something a little more strict.
Correct.
Yeah. So see if they have a program or
I'm sure if you're working in California or one of those green states, they've got something on.
Probably is, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want PCBs at all there.
Should I add anything else? Are we good?
That's pretty good.
I think we're good. Just make sure you put number 7 in that 6.
Oh, yeah. Correct. All right. I'm going to stop sharing this thing.
And then, like you said, if you go to your contractor, if you do find that you come across it,
Nice.
I just don't know that you're gonna. I mean, what do you got left after that? I mean, besides blowing the whistle on your own company, it's kind of hard.
Yeah,
You can't use PPE. You're out of your mind.
if you,
Yeah, we're good.
this is something y'all all need to think about, and you know as well as I do that you have a whistleblower's deal with the federal government. If you decide that there is something that's hazardous to you or your employees or somebody else, you can call OSHA. I mean, it's anonymous. But you know as well as I do that they're going to find out who done it before it's over with.
True.
Boy, it's raining cats and dogs outside right now.
Yeah.
I need to be outside working.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. Call safety, call OSHA.
Yeah, I mean, your
About you.
that first line is talking about removing caulk, so you're probably gonna have to have a hazardous waste plan. you know, just to even start with, you know, just to get rid of the stuff, let alone working with it. What are you going to do to dispose of it and all that type of deal?
Yeah, but is that gonna be up front to protect you and the
Oh,
safety
okay,
in
I'm
the
sorry.
house? You don't know, if you don't test for it and you suspect that there's the PCBs there, if that contractor doesn't test for it, then you're just up the
Yep.
creek without a paddle. And then that's your choice. That's when you go up the line. If you don't get no answer, you go to the union. And then once it is found out, then that's when we implement all the rest of the controls.
Correct. Gotcha. You can use CPR. Remember, so frequent. Yeah, I don't know. If I literally ran into something like that, I'd probably have to go work for somebody else if there was any option.
Buddy, we're involved with it all the time, and our employees are too.
Yeah.
Our members. This stuff is here because even the dams, when I was working for the company in Little Rock, McCormick, we was doing dams that was built in the 1800s, early 1900s, and the coatings haven't been touched all them years. And with the lead and asbestos, the last contract I bid for Rudy from McCormick was Grand Coulee Dam. And the water passages had coal tar, the old bitumastic, which is loaded with PCBs. And it also had asbestos and red lead underneath. Asbestos matting put in the coal tar. So we went up and found that, but the PCBs was not even mentioned.
Yeah.
And it's going to increase your money tenfold if they want to remove it.
You're running out of time.
Yeah, I know it. We're headed back. We don't need to talk about that anymore.
Thank you.
Damn, Mike.
I know.
Well,
Oh, good news, Wayne.
What's up?
Looks like the lightning and thunderstorms might not affect me tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get most of the weather
No,
tonight.
coming to the Gulf Coast. It's Category 1 right now. Just came on my phone.
No. A hurricane?
Yeah, tropical. That means 1, so it can increase once it gets out in the Gulf. Hollow water. And there's
Well, I
another
bet
one
you
behind it, past the Bahamas.
since we've been in that breakout session, I bet it's rained 2 inches here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's hammering right now.
All right, Brian, looks like we have everyone back on the call.
Everyone back? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we'll just do the same debrief method we used yesterday. I'll just go through. Who wants to take number 1? List the EPA rule that regulates PCBs.
40 CFR 761.
Good. And, you know, you could make an argument and list some other rules there, like the Clean Water Act, the Air Act, et cetera, but the bulk of stuff comes under that 761. List the legally approved waste disposal method for PCBs. There's 3 of them.
Incinerate, smelters and landfills.
Okay.
It actually depends if it's bulk or liquid too, right?
Okay, good. And remember, there's not a lot of options, right? List the OSHA Pell and the NIOSH REL for PCBs. Do they agree? And do you think that the OSHA Pell adequately protects workers? And explain your answer. So what do we get from 42% OSHA Pell?
1 milligram per cubic meter of air.
Yep. And what was the NIOSH REL for that 42%?
They went with PP, they went with parts per million rather than
Yep.
cubic meters of air though.
Yep, they did. So what did NIOSH list?
0.001 parts per
Yep.
million.
Now, if we were in a classroom and I had a whiteboard, I would have done this for you, but maybe I should do this and put a slide up here anyways for the next revision of the class. So I converted milligrams per cubic meter based on the molecular weight of that chemical. And the OSHA PEL comes out to be 0.094 ppm compared to 0.001 ppm for NIOSH. So it's 0.094 for the OSHA PEL. How about for the 54%? What was the PEL?
0.5 meters cubed meters. Whatever.
Cubic meters.
All right. I got tongue tied already just saying my name today, right? So 0.5 milligrams per cubic meter or meter cubed. And when I converted it to ppm, that's 0.037 ppm. Now, what was the NIOSH rel?
The
0.001.
Yep, 0.001 ppm. Good. All right. Agree or disagree? Number 4, PCBs are only a concern for worker exposure and worker health.
Disagree.
Disagree.
Disagree, right. Who else has got to be concerned?
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody.
The environment, your kids, your family at home.
Yep. Since there is no dedicated OSHA regulation that protects those who work with PCBs, such as there is with lead or asbestos, list and describe the tools that OSHA could use to protect workers who are exposed to PCBs.
Testing.
Testing? What kind of testing?
Probably the work of the blood, everything, right?
Personal air monitor.
So OSHA could do air testing, right? And they could use the PEL.
Yep.
What else could they use? What other tool do they have?
Blood work.
They could use the general duty clause.
Yes, yeah, the general duty clause. So, you know, blood work could help, but it's not something that OSHA would readily use, right? So they could use the general duty clause if they feel like there's a good chance that PCBs are there and workers weren't protected, even in a minimal level from the employer. So this is where it's tricky. And note to self, so Wayne and Jim, I did create a couple of slides about this with the general duty clause way back when, but I never entered them into the to the presentation. So I'll do that. So we'll address the general duty clause because Jim brings this up all the time. This is one of the only things that OSHA is going to be able to use, that in the PEL, until we get an actual standard in place. Number 6, so there's actually a couple of typos here, and I recorded them, but we'll look at them. Class 9, what did you get for a result? If it's class 9, what is that?
J.
J, yep, the US DOT labeling system. How about NIOSH 5503?
That's I.
Good, I, yep, that's the sampling method under NIOSH, good. How about TSCA?
A.
A, good. OSHA?
H.
Good.
What is it?
G.
40 is G.
Yep, 40 is G. Unfortunately, the number of states that have fish advisories for PCBs, which is interesting. You know what? If I got some spare time here, I might find out what the other states that don't have them are and see if I can figure out why they don't. Is it just that they didn't test? Because you got to figure fish, BCBs don't stay put, as we found out.
Maybe the fish are all dead.
Wayne, Wayne, you've got this way of making me feel better. Love you, Wayne. So the next one should be CAA. So what would that be?
Clean air. C.
Yeah,
Clean Air.
right. C, Clean Air Act. Good. CWA.
D.
Good. How about 2 ppm?
F.
Good. NRC.
E.
Good. And greater or equal to 50 ppm.
B.
Good. Good. All right. So this one gets to the heart of, you know, why it's a good idea to be a member of a union. And this also gets to the issue of the lack of you know, standard on this. So here's our scenario. You and your co-worker will be removing and replacing hundreds of linear feet of cracked and peeling caulking from a library that was built in 1975. You are concerned with the date of the building and understand that some of the building materials may contain PCBs, especially the caulking. You learn that there have not been any tests to determine the presence of PCBs in the library. When you bring this up to the site foreman, he tells you that they don't need to have a test for PCBs by law and to get started with the work. You next state that you would like to wear PPE and use engineering controls to reduce your exposure risk in case PCBs are present. The foreman says that you cannot use PPE or engineering controls because you would scare the library's administrative staff and the community members who frequent the library, and that you better stop causing trouble for them. What do you do? Explain your answer in detail, and what are your next steps? What are you going to do?
Well, I guess you approach your contractor maybe first and foremost. Try to get something from there. We discussed in our group, if that doesn't work, then obviously, like you said, what a union's for, you have reps that we can go to. And if worse comes to worse, then I guess, you know, OSHA does have like the whistleblower thing if you have to. I mean, ultimately, that's probably a last resort, but I'd like to live, so.
Yeah. And again, what sucks about this stuff is you're not going to know if you're going to live for, you know, 5 to 20 years after, right? So how much is your life going to be short? And this is a tough thing, right? If we've got an electrical hazard, a fall hazard, those things are pretty easy to say, hey, look, what you're doing, you're going to get me killed here. You're going to get, you know, somebody on the site killed. It's easy to point that out. But with chemical exposures, I hate dealing with chemical exposures, not just because they're bad, but as an industrial hygienist, I have to try to get authorization to sample. I got to find some, you know, workers that will agree to be sampled. And in union shops, it's a lot easier because generally, you know, unionism comes with a bunch of basic understanding and health and safety training. But if I'm in a private industry or something like that, it's tough. And then I got to wait around for the data. And then I've got to try to compare it to something. In this case, I've only got Pels. So it's a pain in the butt, right? What else could you do? What else did people come up with?
One thing I came up with,
Jim,
Vern,
chime in here. Yeah.
was, and we haven't talked about this, but to check and see if there's any state or local ordinance that may pertain to PCBs.
Good. Good. Yeah, and so, you know, so let's say if you came down to filing an OSHA complaint, right? Maybe you talked about, you know, with your union rep, you know, you talked to the leadership at the LU, and they're like, yeah, that's a big job. You're going to be there for a while. This ain't right. So OSHA is going to look at, you know, the validity of the complaint, and they're going to see, you know, how important it is for them to get out there, how fast, right? Obviously, if it's immediate danger, they're going to be out as fast as they can. If it's something that is not likely to be of a concern for workers, maybe, you know, the way the description was, they might take their time getting out there. But with this, if you were to say, hey, the building was built in 75, I'm removing all this stuff. We know that it, you know, likely contains PCBs, and I'm going to be working here for a couple months. If you can lay out the complaint that way, and by the way, you know, since I'm, you know, an IUPAT member now, if you ever have an issue with something like this, you know, after you confer with local leadership and stuff like that, I'm available to help review your language before you send it off, you know, because you want to make sure that you write your language in the complaint to pique OSHA's interest. And you want to do it validly, right, and in truth, but there's a way that you could write this up that's going to tell OSHA, oh, geez, you know, these workers are going to be around this stuff. It could likely contain PCBs for a few months. And boy, not for nothing, but it doesn't sound like the contractor considered protecting the building occupants and the environment either. That wouldn't be good. right? So in something like this, OSHA might even call up EPA and say, hey, you know, fellow EPA inspector, guess what? I just got this come across my desk. I'm going to go out there and take a look at it for worker protection, but you might want to come out and take a look at it for environmental and public health as well. So there's a way that you could write this up that would get OSHA's attention, and validly so, right? Anything else? Anything else that you would consider in this?
I like to say, when we're teaching this class, I think we need to do like a step one, like I said, go to the foreman, foreman don't. Step two, go to the contractor. Step three, go to the union rep. Step four, OSHA or EPA. No result, then, like you said, do your letter.
Go up the chain.
What was that?
What's that?
Because you don't want the guy to start right off the bat calling OSHA.
Yeah.
And we can see if we can handle the problem first. Then you ain't
Work
getting
your
any
way up the
result,
chain.
then you do that. Because you know what'll happen.
Right. So this
I'm
was.
gonna give you an example. I had a job several years ago. One of my guys called, there were 10 guys on the job, called OSHA instead of calling me to handle the problem. The company found out, all right, they laid them all off for the foreman and steward. Kept them for a week and laid them off so it would look good, and subbed that work out to a non-union company. And we lost 20,000 man hours. That's 10 jobs for a year. And that's why I kind of say we need to follow the step when we're teaching it. I teach that. I tell them it's a God-given right to do that, but let me handle it first. And if I can't, I handle it, and that keep you out of hot water.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
just an example of what I'm talking about.
yeah, no, and that's important. And Wayne and Jim and I discussed this quite a bit. And there should be a grievance process with every local union, right? There should be an outline already made for this kind of stuff somewhere. So if your employer's not protecting you, if you're not getting a just response there, what do you do? In fact, you know, I mean, and this is a scenario that's made for that, because the requirements under the law to protect workers are very wishy-washy. And the requirements to test for public health and environmental protection are wishy-washy. So what are you going to do when it comes down to it? So this is a perfect example where a union grievance process might be implemented, right? So how does that process work? So, you know, my advice in the short term, if you're going to go teach this soon, is find out what your local process is, and make sure that you remind students of what that is. And I think Wayne and Jim, you know, this reminds me of our discussion. I think we were trying to figure out like a fact sheet or something like that to put into this class at the awareness level of how you go about, you know, finding out what that process is. Because I think it's important. And it's not important just for PCBs, right? It could be important for, hey, you know, I'm not getting the right fall protection stuff or whatever. But specifically for this, where you're not having a clear support from the law, it's going to be important.
I'll agree with you, Barney.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay, so I'll add this to the short list to do. Luckily, I feel pretty good so far. I've only found a couple grammar, spelling error kind of things, and a couple things I'd like to add to make things more clear, but I think so far so good. And please, folks, when we're done with the class, when you, I'm still not familiar with the process about evaluation and stuff, but anything you see that you can add to make it better or something like that, please let us know, and we'll make sure that we, you know, look at incorporating it into the class. With that said, does anybody have any comments or questions of anything that we covered today or even the last 2 days?
Going back to number 3 on the activity.
Yes.
You came up with the OSHA numbers with the PEL for the NIOSH, you know, 0.001 points per million. How did you come up with that? Or what did you find that for the chart right there?
Well, so for NIOSH, it's given to us.
Yeah, that part I got, but you came up with the OSHA numbers.
Okay, gotcha. So what you do is there's a formula to convert from milligrams per cubic meter to ppm. And what
Correct.
you do, and again, imagine in your mind that I'm writing on a board. So you take 24.45, which is the molar volume in air if you were to disperse something up into air, and you multiply it by the milligrams per cubic meter that you're wishing to convert. In the first case, it's 1, right? Because it was 1 milligram per cubic meter. In the second case, it's 0.5.
Correct.
And then I divide that by the molecular weight of that substance. So what I did is I went to my pocket guide and I found the molecular weight for 42% chlorine for chlorodiphenyl, right? Because that's what OSHA uses as the name.
Right.
And I saw the molecular weight was 258 approximately. And they say approximately because remember, this is a mixture.
Right.
And for the 54%, it was 326 for the molecular weight approximately. So I take 24.45 times 1, divide by 258. That gives me 0.094. And then I take 24.45 times 0.5 divided by 326, and that gave me my 0.037.
Okay.
And again,
so most of that information you had was that was in the book, the NIOSH book, correct?
Yes.
It's in the NIOSH pocket guide.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. Yeah, I got one of those. Okay, no problem. I just wanted to make sure.
The formula is not in there. So what I'll do is I'll make up a slide that goes through converting this.
Because believe you me, someone's going to end up asking me about the formula. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I want to make sure I'm covered.
Calculators online too. That would do it for you.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, Mike and everybody, if you don't have a pocket guide handy, you can go to wiser.com and download that app on your phone, and it will bring up all the pails and everything else for each chemical.
Okay. Yes.
It's wiser.com.
Wiser.com. Beautiful. Thank you.
And if you go to look for, like sometimes you can type in how much does 1 milliliter equal in gallons in Google, right? It'll give you an answer and it's got a formula for that. But for this, you got to be careful because it's not a straight conversion like that because it all depends on the molecular weight. So the molar volume, that 24.45, that's never going to change. But your milligrams is going to change, right? And then your molecular weight of that substance will change based on what it is. So you've got some different variables you got to plug in there. So I'll develop a slide and put that in after the NIOSH REL slide so that we can convert it and we can see the example of how that worked.
Beautiful.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions?
That's it.
Not Wayne, Jim? I like the slow clap, but you need to save the slow clap for Friday. Wayne or Jim, any comments or questions?
None.
Pretty good.
All right. Everybody, tomorrow I will send you a picture of my massive haul of fish that I catch. And if you might see me in the local newspaper, that's okay too. Hopefully not because I've drowned, but because I caught a record-winning.
It's going to be about this long, Bernie.
No. Maybe I'll even get a tuna. Who knows? If I get a tuna and I sell it to Japan for $18,000, everybody on this class is going to get rounds on me for a week.
Yeah, you'll go broke.
Not selling a tuna to Japan. No, sir. I'm going to have extra money left over.
I'm going to go back to your early statement, Bernie. 20 wasn't enough when you were talking about how many beers I could drink.
Yeah, and if we made it that one place, Wayne, there's 265 spigots.
You got it.
Don't forget, you guys, if you want to eat tuna fish, tell them to eat more of it and buy more life insurance.
That's right. All right, everybody. So tomorrow it's just going to be Wayne and Jim. You are in good hands, I know. And I will see you all back on Friday at 10 o'clock to do a trainer portion of this.
Beautiful.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Monisha, thank you. Anybody else on the IFTA that was helping out behind the scenes, thank you.
No problem. See you all tomorrow.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.